For the 12th straight day, the federal government remains partially shut down. But House Democrats say they have a plan to reopen the government when they take control of Congress tomorrow. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees are going without paychecks, while President Trump demands funding for a wall on the southern border. The president has invited congressional leaders from both parties to the White House later on today to discuss border security. And as the shutdown nears the 2-week mark, its effects are becoming even more apparent. Tom Hanson has more on that.
For the first time since the partial government shutdown began 12 days ago, President Trump is expected to meet with congressional leaders from both parties at the White House today.
We have to have a wall as part of border security, and we're working on it.
It'll be the president's first meeting with Democratic leaders since December 11th, when he said he'd be proud to shut down the government over border security.
I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it.
It's unclear what will come from today's meeting. Presumptive House Speaker Nancy Pelosi expects to pass legislation to reopen the government tomorrow when Democrats take control. She noted in a letter to her colleagues that these bills contain no new wall funding. Last night, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders called Pelosi's plan a non-starter. Senate Republicans have said they won't pass anything that doesn't have the president's support.
Government shutdown and how you can help.
While lawmakers squabble in Washington, volunteers are picking up the slack where they can. These rock climbing guides at Joshua Tree National Park are cleaning the bathrooms.
Not to mention we're about $400 out on cash buying toilet paper.
Visitors to Golden Gate Recreation Area are taking out the trash.
I understand that the park rangers aren't working today, so we figured, we had plastic bags on us, why not clean up this mess?
But back in the nation's capital, the Smithsonian museums are closed until the shutdown ends.
All right, so Tom, you're here in New York. Let's talk a little bit about what you brought up in your package. First off, this meeting that's supposed to be happening today, do you have any idea who will be attending?
Yeah, so it looks like it'll be leadership on both sides. So you have Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the top incoming House Republicans Kevin McCarthy of California, Steve Scalise of Louisiana. They plan on attending, according to aides. The departing House Speaker, Paul Ryan, is not expected to be there. And then Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi also plan on attending. So it sounds like a decent turnout. Obviously, as is the case with any kind of negotiation, both sides are trying to get the best deal they possibly can. So it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is today.
So you mentioned in your package that Nancy Pelosi says she's got a plan to get the government up and running again. Of course, the Democrats are going to take over the House tomorrow, but they're still going to need the Senate to sign off on whatever bill they pass. So what exactly is the plan for the Democrats?
Yeah, so this is an interesting plan. The Democrats, they want to separate the border wall from the rest of the things that are being held up by the government shutdown. So they're going to try to reopen everything but the Department of Homeland Security, which, of course, would oversee the border wall, kind of the crux of this entire debate. And then they deal with DHS in a separate bill that would be voted on in February. So this would put hundreds of thousands of workers, federal workers, back on the job. But that still has to be signed off by the Senate. Like you said, it still has to be signed off by the president. And Republicans say they're only going to entertain a bill that is full stock. So it sounds like they're all or nothing. And this pathway out of the shutdown is looking pretty tricky.
Yeah, because then I think if they do get what they want and somehow miraculously the Senate, decides to pass the bill that the Democrats are pushing, what's the possible fallout moving forward?
Yeah, well, that's a big if,
Right.
If they're able to pass this bill and push it through the Senate and get the president to sign, more of the government will be up and running. As I said, hundreds of thousands of people will head back to work and they'll get a paycheck. The border wall debate will then be pushed back to a later date, probably in February. Now, if they're unable to separate the two, the government will stay partially shut down. 800,000 federal workers furloughed or working without pay. So today and tomorrow could be very, very big days in Washington.
Yeah, they will truly be busy. Tom, thank you so much.
Thanks.